Hi there and welcome back to week 3 of Teacher Summer Recharge. This week we're talking about building strong relationships. Did you know that strong supportive relationships are a buffer against stress and burnout? Now you might be thinking, hold on, I barely have time to eat or go to the bathroom and you want me to focus on building strong relationships? Stay with me. This isn't about adding more to your plate. It's about helping you feel more supported, more energized, and better able to cope when the tough stuff comes. And with teaching, the tough stuff always comes. Research suggests that relationships are a protective factor for teacher well-being. Having at least one other person you can count on can reduce your stress, increase your longevity in the profession, and help you feel less alone. Knowing that, let me ask you, who's in your support squad? Do you have a support squad? When your lesson flops, a student melts down, the copier jams again, or worse, who do you turn to? Who can help support you through those difficult times? We all need support, especially in a job as demanding and unpredictable as teaching. That's where your squad comes in. Your support squad is your personal team of people who can help you feel grounded and uplifted at the same time. They're like your emotional safety net. We need a squad because it takes more than one person to support this teaching journey. It's more than even the best mentor or partner can provide. Your support squad might include fellow teachers, a coach, your teacher bestie, or even people outside of education. People who get you and want to support you because you were never meant to do this work alone. Let's take a look at my support squad. I've got a mentor, that's Brad. He's several steps ahead of me on this journey and he always gives the best advice. I've got an encourager, my friend Betsy. She's like sunshine in human form, and when I'm feeling down, Betsy's the first person I call. I've got a supporter. Honestly, that's my mom. She seems to know when I'm struggling and what I need before I even realize it. I've got a great problem solver in Brian. He can really help me unpack a problem and think through the next steps. Got a truth teller. My friend Laura, we've been friends since middle school, and when I really need someone to tell me the truth with love and kindness, she's the one. And then I've got lots of different kinds of buddies. Travel buddies, workout buddies, teaching buddies, so I could add a lot of them to my support squad. Let's talk about who's on your squad. First, to assemble your squad, think about the types of support you need. What roles do you need to fill on your support squad? Next, think about who'd be great in filling those roles. Then, let those people know what important parts they play in your life. But remember, relationships are a two-way street. Invest in those relationships and think about how you can support your squad in return. Now let's talk about something just as important as support and connection for strong relationships. Boundaries. Because healthy relationships aren't just built on closeness, they're also built on clarity. Boundaries aren't about building walls to keep people out. They're about creating clear guidelines that help you build relationships based on connection, trust, and mutual respect. Boundaries are essential for healthy relationships because they help everyone feel seen, valued, and safe. Sometimes we think being supportive means being endlessly available, always saying yes to an ask, absorbing everybody else's stress like a sponge. But that's not being supportive. That's a clear road to burnout. Setting boundaries is about creating these healthy, supportive relationships without losing yourself in the process. Here's the thing. The most resilient teachers I know are both deeply connected and clear about their limits. Let's talk about the types of boundaries they set and the kinds of boundaries you might want to create for yourself. The first type is an emotional boundary. That's when we get really clear about how much emotional energy we want to give to someone else. When we're using this boundary, there may be times when we say, I want to support you, but I can't have this conversation right now. Can we talk later? We can hold emotional boundaries even when that person isn't around, when we decide how much of our emotional energy we want to give them. The next kind of boundary is time. How much of our precious, precious time do we want to give to someone else? When we're setting a time boundary, we might say, hey, I'm happy to help, but I only have 15 minutes. There's physical boundaries. Physical boundaries may be about how much time we want to be in the physical presence of someone else or the kind of physical contact we want to have. I'll admit, I'm a hugger, but I've learned to ask first before embracing someone else. And if you're not a hugger, you may have to learn to say, hey, I'm not comfortable with hugging, but I'd love to shake your hand. The next kind of boundaries are conversation boundaries. That's when we have to tell someone what we are and are not comfortable talking about. Sometimes I've had to say to colleagues, I love eating lunch with you, but I don't want to talk about politics. It makes me really anxious. You might have to say to your sweet grandma, please, I'd love to see you, but don't ask me those questions about my dating life. You decide what makes you uncomfortable, what depletes your battery, and what kinds of boundaries would be helpful to put in place. We've talked about building your support squad and setting and communicating those clear boundaries. Both of those practices can help keep your teacher battery charged. But with so much on your plate, how can you focus on building relationships? That's where this week's bite-sized strategy comes in. This week's bite-sized strategy comes from psychologist John Gottman, who talks about something called bids for connection, the building blocks of strong relationships. Connecting doesn't have to be something big or dramatic. In fact, the most powerful relationship builders often come down to something small. Bids for connection. Those are any attempt from one person to another to get attention, affirmation, affection, support, or any other positive connection. People are often sending out bids for connection. They may be subtle, like a sigh or a smile, or they may be overt. Someone may simply say, today was rough. Can we talk for a minute? When you notice someone's bid for connection and you respond in a positive, caring way, it strengthens the relationship. It builds trust. Bid by bid, you're forming this little bridge between you and the other person. So in your day-to-day, try noticing bids. You don't have to respond in a big way. Just a small act of support and kindness can go a long way. Noticing and responding to bids is a simple way we can build strong, supportive relationships. So this week, let's try building our support squads, setting and communicating clear boundaries, noticing and responding to bids for connection. Remember, resilience isn't about pushing through or trying to do it all alone. In fact, sometimes the most resilient thing you can do is tell someone else you're struggling. And when someone reveals that to you, the most supportive thing you can do is simply say, I'm here. Thank you for being here today. Keep building those relationships, one bid, one boundary at a time. I'll see you next week for week 4 of the Teacher Summer Recharge when we talk about how to reframe challenges in ways that move us forward instead of leaving us stuck. And remember, if you missed weeks 1 or 2, you can find everything you need at teacherrecharge.com/resources. See you next week.